Or had you hit record, but we're all in the dark coil. Hi, book club members. I'm Jen.
And I'm Carrie, and I'm leaving that in.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. This is episode number 150, and our book is The Remainder of the Dark Coil by Peter Fehervari. We post, I don't even know what to say. This tells the next part of the dark coil because, the dark coil just continues to go and go and go and go, like the Energizer Bunny. We posted several questions on our website, WH40bookclub.com, and we encourage participation in our conversations via YouTube, our site, or Encrypted Vox channel, or our super secret Discord. Spoiler warning, if you haven't yet read this book, definitely check it out before listening to this podcast, as we'll be discussing the book from start to finish in great detail. With that, let's dive in. As always, Carrie, let's start with the short stories. We're actually going to break this up, break our conversations up into short stories and then the book.
No, short stories, novella, book.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
short
you
stories.
know what?
Did you like the short stories?
We could probably break this up into Phaedra and then the Coronatus Ring sector.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Let's go with Phaedra. Did you like the Phaedra sections?
Yes, in that I really liked the idea of taking the craziness of that planet with the Delarosa coil and just showing that there's more horrors to be had here than just this demon that is plaguing the captain. So just basically this planet, there's something not right about this planet.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of a little bit in that way? It reminded me of, if you've ever read Pet Sematary, when they're talking about how the land went sour, it went bad. That's all I could think of the whole time I was reading these stories. I was like, oh man, that land's gone bad. Like, there is not good stuff here. I would agree with you. I did like that planet was so horrific.
Yeah.
It deserved to have
probably one thing I really liked about even in that first book is that the environment, the horror element was the environment, right? And not like a monster. Yes. And I'm kind of here for stuff like that. That's one reason why I love the video game BioShock so much, was that yes, there were different monsters popping out, but the real horror was the environment that you were in. And
well, I've always said that the thing that I love about the haunted house genre is that in a good book, the house is its own character, right? The best example of this is The Shining, of course, but Burnt Offerings. The house is Shirley Jackson. The house is a character. I feel like we've read a lot of really good books in the horror series as well, in Warhammer 40k, where the
horror haunted house story.
Which one?
That you and I both read. Amityville Horror. It's a very important haunted house story.
Okay. I can't continue like this. I cannot work with these people.
She's officially in a hostile work environment.
God. You're not wrong, but like, that's the only character there is. Everybody else is just a flat blah, blah. Anyways, so like, I really did, but that was one of the things, I think I even said this, and when we read Fire Caste, the planet was a character in and of itself. You're right. It's the environment is actually the horror, right? And that's what made that book so effective, is that what are you going to do against a planet? It's not like it's Freddy or Jason and you just have to find his Horcrux. Like, what are you going to do? And so I really did like that they decided to, that he decided to have a few more, like, oh yeah, by the way, this place is really jacked up. It wasn't just this guy.
Yeah, it wasn't just this one area. There was other stuff going on if you went deeper down the river.
Which does, I actually like that too, because it does, this is one thing that I really struggle with, is that, especially in 40k, the planetary scope of things.
Exactly.
Right?
I was thinking that too when I was making my notes. Yep.
Right. Because like right now, like I'm in Denver, right? Like I don't know what the hell's going on in London right now. I don't know. Are there people that live there? Maybe. I don't know. Like I'm in.
Well, I'm assuming that they're sleeping right now, but
Yeah, they probably should be. Or actually, are they getting, they're approaching their day. But like, Sometimes it's really hard to remember that on this planet, like where our heroes are, right? There's probably other stuff going on the other side of the planet. Like sometimes books will mention it, right? But I did like oh yeah, meanwhile, back at the corral, this is what was
Yeah.
going on. It's like, that's not good either. You thought our friends were having a bad time. Turns out everyone was having a bad time.
Yeah, because there's possible Nurgle stuff going on. That's what I got from that one captain. And then somebody decided, you know what? What if we use the gene stealer strain to see if we can fix the fungus problem here? Like you could totally hear Ian Malcolm. Frustration.
Life finds a way.
No, not that one, but just because you could, you never stop to think if you should.
Yeah, again,
Which is
that
actually
also
how I felt about the Tau Earth cast the whole time. And he was just like, this is not for the greater good. You're going against the greater good. And we had, Jakara and the water cast girl who were like, oh, we need to set fire to all of this and leave.
This is bad, okay? Yes, I would agree with that. But again, this is also like just the ignorance of the world, right? And I liked that it was on both sides. You have the Tau who are also like, no, 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 no. We could use this. No, I don't think so. And that also harkened back to Fire Caste with the Tau who were like, oh, this planet. I mean, the planet's a little like, I mean, it's kind of messed up, but it's not like evil or anything. No, it is evil.
I think there was a line at the end. I think it was at the, oh my God, where was that? I think it was, I don't remember if it was the Sanctuary of Maz or what, but it was Sanctuary of Worms or, oh, I bet it was this one, the Altar of Maz, where at the end they're like, suddenly the Guela's hatred against Xenos doesn't seem so bad.
I think it was Altar of Maz. Trying to keep them straight in my head now.
Yeah, because it was the one with the water cast chick. Anyway. It wasn't that one.
I don't remember. No, I don't know. It wasn't Vanguard.
No.
Maybe it was the worm one. Outcast.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Outcast. I know what you're talking about though. But yeah, I did like when all of a sudden the Tau, or it's always interesting that, especially with the Tau, I don't like the Tau.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you a theme that is growing on me is the Tau's awakening into this world, right? They are a young race and they've been very isolated. So they have this and we know that with their very dogmatic worldview, they are not necessarily as cognizant of the problems, right? And this is becoming a theme that I really like, where they're starting to wake up and be like, oh, wait, oh, no, we're not negotiating with those guys. No, that's not going to work. No, maybe there is something to this chaos thing. We don't know.
That was still like one of my favorite things out of Fire Caste when the Chasui was like, or Wintertide, and he's like, there is no hell. He's like, no, it wasn't the Wintertide. It was the Chasui. He was like, there is no hell. It's like, well, buddy, you're about to go visit it because we're going to go into the warp and there's no Gellerfield.
Right, exactly. Like, there's no hell. We'll see if you still feel that way in 10 minutes. Yeah. That is a theme that I am starting to really enjoy with the Tau, because I do think that in a good writer's hands, and looking back at Fire Caste, right, you can really do something very interesting with it. Especially since, again, these guys are starting to expand. Like they're not going to be able to maintain this like, oh yeah, no, the warp, we're kind of immune to the warp and chaos just kind of ignores us like mentality. No, you guys are on the chessboard now, the regicide board, excuse me.
Yes, right. There's no chess here.
Yes, there's no chess here.
It's just regicide.
Yeah. Okay, so we have that. What about the other story? Did you like them?
Oh, the ones in the that are like with Oblast and
Yes.
okay, what's the other planet? Redemption. For fuck's sake. Yes, Redemption.
Right. But not Cult of the Spiral Dawn yet.
No, no,
We'll
no.
get there.
No, but yeah, okay, right. So on Oblast. So I really enjoyed the novella Fire and Ice. And it was mainly because you really didn't know what was happening. And at the same time, like, there's some great lines in it. About Krieger, when Mordain was like, you shouldn't have started that. Now they're going to hate us. And he was just like, we're just feeding into the monster that we already are. Like, just so matter of fact about it. And just that he thinks that he's being hunted when he was never hunted because he trusted this one guy because Escher told him to trust him, not realizing that they were all being led and that Mordain was being used by Escher from beyond the grave this entire time. I felt bad for those sharks. Those poor guys just doing their job and all get murdered by that space marine. They never said what he is, but I'm going to assume because it's Fehervari, he was either a resplendent or penitent. That's just what I'm going to assume. I'm pretty sure he was not a Grey Knight because the Grey Knights travel in packs. And yeah, I'm assuming a lot, obviously, because they never once said, but
a lot of it's left to your inference.
Right. And of course, like, we never knew what happened to him. He just walked out into the sunset or the ice. I was glad to see that Omazet survived because I really liked her.
Yes.
And so when she appeared in Cult of the Spiral Dawn, I was like, oh, thank God that she actually lived. I hope she actually killed that Kroot. That's what it was. It was a Kroot.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow,
AKA one of my favorite races.
That somehow this space marine was controlling. Like, so weird. So weird. And yet, so at the same time, kind of on par for the Inquisition of the Ordo Xenos.
Right.
This is almost like his trial by fire to how do you became an Inquisitor. He's like, but I'm not Inquisitor. It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything now because you know why Krieger grabbed the rosette. I'm like, you need to take this. Like, is this all this big old scheme? So I felt really bad for Mordain at the end. But obviously when we see in Cult of the Spiral Dawn that he assumed his role rather well, as an Inquisitor should. I was kind of hoping at the end of the novella, because I didn't know, obviously, he was going to be in Cult of the Spiral Dawn, that he was going to be like, you know what, I'm not playing this game and I am leaving. But at the same time, he's like, what am I going to do? Right?
Right. Yeah, I liked Fire and Ice. I liked how it was broken up. I liked the characters. I thought it was weird. It was weird, but this was actually an example of a book, of a story. And okay, you and I have said this before, and I stand by this. I do think that Fehervari is at his strongest in short stories and in novellas because he can pull out his kind of weird, nobody really knows what's going on here, it's a little confusing. He can pull out those tricks and it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a short story. So when it gets to the end, you're just like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's open to interpretation. And I kind of dig that. Fire and Ice, I thought, did not outstay its welcome. But it came a little close.
That is true. It was very true.
It was definitely walking along that line for me. And we're going to talk a lot about that once we get into Cult of the Spiral Dawn. But I really enjoyed that. I preferred the short stories, though. Like, I really liked Vanguard. Vanguard, I really liked.
I knew you would because of the Mechanicus. But Vanguard, I thought, had a really interesting point of view on that. Especially, oh my God, that navigator. Like, that stuff haunts me in my dreams. Like, just like the last line is like, I lied. And he continues laughing. It's like, now we're all going to die here. And sure, that's cool.
And I guess we should have seen this coming. Yeah,
but
I think...
I have to say, though, I did not really enjoy Cast of Hungry Maws. And I think there was too much going on in it.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I
would agree with that.
Like, now knowing, like, because he wrote that, as I was looking in the copyright stuff, he wrote that after...
Cast the Hungry Shadow?
Yes, thank you.
I was like, wait a minute, you just combined two of them.
Well, there's a lot of Maws and
There's a
Hungry
lot of maws and
and
cults
Shadow.
and
I mean, because there was
yeah.
like what the Sanctuary of the Worms. There's the Altar of Maws. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, because he wrote that after,
Yeah.
and I think it was one of those. It's like, did we really need this prequel? Was it interesting to see the sister that betrayed them all? I kind of, but there was so many other things going on that didn't fit and didn't make sense in the end.
Agreed.
And basically,
And I'll be
it's just like, I guess this planet is just in utter chaos. And that's what he was trying to show, which I don't think was that necessary.
and okay, when we get into Cult of the Spiral Dawn, I'm going to say some things that are going to seem very contradictory to what I'm about to say. But I can explain it later. Just go with it, okay? Um, in some ways, Peter Fehervari not unresolves. We're going to talk about that. But in some ways, when he leaves, he kind of feels like a magician. When he keeps stuff under the table or behind the curtain, it actually works to his benefit, right? Because it lets us kind of do some inference and it lets us kind of think about stuff, right? And like you can kind of like, ooh, I don't know, like what did happen here? Like that's kind of horrific on it to think about. And like my own imagination does again, this is kind of like whenever you watch a monster movie and then they reveal the monster and you're like, well, this is now stupid. Um, I always think of oh, what is the name of that movie? It was in the early aughts. It's not a good movie. But when they finally reveal the monster and it's basically like just a giant black smoke thing. Or actually hell, a really great example is It. When they finally reveal like a giant spider looking thing. Um um that prequel piece felt unnecessary because again, I can imagine how a sister would betray them. And they kind of already dealt with it, right? And I actually really loved that when the Magos is like, yep, just kind of inserted myself as her own doubts. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden I can't remember the exact line, but it's a wonderful line. But it was like, all of a sudden her doubts led to suspicion. Her suspicion led to loathing because, right. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know anything beyond that. It was actually quite effective. Reading this, I'm with you. I was like, well, some of this is just kind of
Because basically
in there.
what this was that, because you find out this takes place, that prequel takes place about 100 years before Cult of the Spiral Dawn.
Mhm.
And all that it is how they got their new Magus. Well, I don't care how what's her face got there.
Nope.
Zathuli, Zathali, Z girl, whatever.
Whatever she was. Yeah. Starts with
Yeah.
a Z.
Yeah. So it was one of those where it was like the prequel is like, is it necessary? And in this case, I'm going to say not really. So
Not really.
but I thought if this is the only thing in here I don't like, that's pretty good because you're not always going to bat 1,000.
Right.
And I really liked Cult of the Spiral Dawn.
Let's dive into Cult of the Spiral Dawn.
Until Fehervari, you almost had me. You sly dog. You nearly got me monologuing.
You raggedy bitch. You almost had me.
I was like, you know what? I think I need to skim through Requiem Infernal. I don't think I gave that really a good chance because he is good. And then I got to the end of this. I was like, oh, nope, everything was great. So you disappeared right up your own asshole.
Okay. So here was my journey with Spiral Dawn. So I started reading it. And with the start, like in the very first couple of chapters with the sisters, I was like, oh man, I hate Requiem Infernal all over again because you can write the sisters very well. And I really like these characters. You almost got me. But then as I was reading through, I can't even remember. I think it was like on chapter 6 or 7 when I texted you and I was like, it's Fire Caste, but with gene stealers. Like,
which is fine.
He has...
That
Which is
works.
fine.
That totally works.
Fine, right? Like, look, I loved Fire Caste. That is going to be in probably my top 10 books for a very long time. It was so good. But I was reading this and I was like, oh yeah, you definitely have a trope, don't you? Like, I'm seeing how this all goes here. And then I was with you. It got to about what, like chapter 13, 14?
14.
It was like about 14 when all of a sudden it was like, there he is. There's the Fehervari that we know and love. Um, I First off, I will say that this book, so in Fire Caste, there were a lot of characters to keep track of, right? Like so many characters to keep track of. But I felt emotionally invested in almost all of them, and so it kind of worked because you very quickly, because there was a lot of characters, but there were pockets of characters, right? So
Correct.
like these guys are together, and then these guys are together, and all the tower were kind of together, except for this one who's in like the kind of like Venn diagram, right?
Hmm.
So it was kind of easy to keep track of them. And this book, I felt like there wasn't a good Venn diagram. It was just a bunch of characters, almost too many. I cannot tell you how many times I would get to a character and I was like, wait a minute. Who really had trouble keeping everybody straight this time? And I don't
Yeah.
know
So
why.
I didn't have
I
the
wasn't
issue
distracted.
with characters. It was the proper nouns.
Okay, that's fair.
So many like proper nouns are like, wait, what is this in reference to? And I thank God, like I got it on ebook, uh, and I could do a search and find like where it was. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of, but that's a thing. So when I got to the very end with the whole thing with the Crucible Eterna, I was like, what was that? Had to go back to the beginning, saw what that was. I was like, I guess, like, well,
Yeah,
we'll get to the ending here in a bit. Like, I'm not gonna skip ahead with that, but there were
I
some.
loved Cross, by the way. Start to finish, I loved Cross. I was
Cross
so
and Lazaro and Omazet. I was like, here for all three
between
of
the
those.
three of them, I was so emotionally invested, but Cross is my boy. Um, Definitely was emotionally invested in him, and I will actually go on record saying that I think he might be one of my favorite characters in general. Again, I want to getting my positive notes out. Um, he is definitely one of my favorite characters. I really liked him, really liked Omazet.
Mhm.
Um, I thought that character development was really good. I think that those, especially Cross, I think the reason that Cross resonated with me so well is that harkening back to Fire Caste, right? Um, Nobody wants to go to the 40k universe. Nobody wants to go there. It is bad. And if somebody were to ever say to me like, "Hey, what is it like? Well, what is life like for like an Imperial soldier?" I would still say, "Hey, you should read Firecast. It's really fun."
Right.
Um, it just that confusion and that terror and that I don't like just one foot in front of the other. I'm just going to keep going, keep going, keep going. And,
And just
I
being
don't want to
thrown
be
into the
part of
meat
this.
grinder because.
I almost escaped it, but I also still have a conscience, right? Like Cross probably could have just stayed on that ship and just kept going with his life, right? But no, he decided to go with the Pilgrims because he had developed an emotional, like not like a romantic emotional, but he had an emotional connection.
Mhm.
And so, whew, no good deed goes unpunished in the
Right.
Warhammer 40k universe. Um, Fehervari at that level, I think really understands the horror of existing in the 40k universe
Yes.
and the sense of powerlessness, right? Of just, as you said, you've been thrown into the meat grinder. Godspeed. May the odds be in your favor. Um, that character Cross is really a good, like Firecast is a better book and it's a better like this is why it really sucks to be in the 40k universe book, but Cross I feel like is a really good study for like trying to be a good person in the 40k universe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Spoiler alert. It doesn't go well.
I
I'm
mean, it
playing
went better
Rogue
for
Trader
him
right
than
now and I'm
for.
doing Iconoclast and I think my life is going to end. My Rogue Trader's life is going to end very much like Cross's did.
I also did like Clavel.
I liked Clavel.
So I was sad when he was devoured.
Oh, him.
Mhm.
He got devoured. Yeah. Um, there were a few people that I was a little bit, I was like, oh, bummer. I wouldn't say that I was like totally like, oh my God, I love this character. This is like, he's amazing. But there were a few people that I was like, oh,
Well, it's
why'd you have
like
to do him
I was
dirty?
sad
Clavel
that.
was the one that I was like, why'd you have to do him so dirty?
So like just throwing out random characters here. So like Kazan, I think it's Kazan.
Mm.
you know, when he actually gets infected and you're like, oh no, not this guy. But then he has a moment and he realizes he's been infected and he turns. Like, that's an awesome moment for him. Lieutenant Melior, how she was thrown into this and she actually became very good under fire. Oh, I forget the other guy's name, but the one who loved Jay and his recaf. And how he's just
I cannot think of his name.
Yeah,
See, this is what I'm talking about.
But he was so sad about Jay. He was like, man, he was such a good kid. He made the best recaf. You know, just random stuff like that. There's a lot of characters that I was really invested in. Like, I was even invested in Cinca because he made me so sad. How he was manipulated and duped. And I really loved Arikan. Her arc was amazing and until the end. But she
I was going to say, I can't. Like, I was with you. I was absolutely with you. I really liked her character till the end.
Like
then unfortunately it was so bad. I was like, I can't now.
When she gives that guy a las pistol and he immediately whips it around at Clavel and at the Colonel. She was like, I didn't load it. And they kill him. It was like, see, that those were, you know, you almost tell Omazet was proud. Like, yeah, it was a reluctant relationship, but I mean, she's like, well, we're not friends, but it's probably the closest thing she would have had to a friend in that group.
Right.
Again, like, just that I felt so bad for all the black flags, the leftover sharks, and just this place sucks.
But this place does suck. Really quickly on that, that's another very positive thing that I will say is that you and I had talked about this in Fire Caste. Like, that group, super fascinating, super interesting. The black flags in general were super interesting. The gallows dancers, I loved. Like, cool names.
The whole idea that they would tattoo their hands with the symbol, but they would make it unique for what they were. Like, that's cool. I mean, actually, that would suck, getting a tattoo on your palm like that, but it's kind of a cool idea.
Sanitary.
Well,
right. Like,
it's just part of the issue.
Right. Just, that's all I can think of. Would be like when they were like, oh, they tattooed their hands. I was like, how are you keeping it clean? Probably the least of your worries, but you know, these are the privileged ass things as a privileged person living in 2025 and not in the 40k universe that I think about. But the whole concept, so cool. And one of the things that I've always said about Frank Herbert, best names. The reason we still talk about Dune is because he has the coolest names for stuff.
It's true.
And yeah, Fehervari, he definitely has a little bit of touch there. Cool names. I love the idea of the black flags. They makes them sound kind of piratey, but not exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a, no pun intended, like gallows humor to some of the stuff that just, oh yeah, I love their group. I hope we get to see more of them in the future, like that in some other book within the dark coil. Love it.
I mean, we'll see, right?
Cool.
Because the planet's going to heal or something.
Nature is healing.
Nature is healing. Yes.
Oh, you know what? The other thing I have to say that genuinely got a belly laugh out of me was in the beginning, where she's like, "Oh, the name for the planet has been approved, Redemption," and oh, okay. And then she's like,
the
"Well,
other sister was like, seriously."
But I like how she's like, "Well, technically it's Redemption-219 because that's a really common name in this universe." I was like, "That's good. That's just really good." Because yes, I'll bet it is.
I mean, like, Aveline, like, determined to make this place a shrine world, and her second command is just like, this place is not worth saving.
Like, how she kind of like says that, and Aveline's
as you're
like,
dying from the black lung.
Again, now I will say in this book, he kind of tried to make this planet its own character, and like, the oppressive with like, the blackouts and stuff, and yes, the literally black lung, right? Not as effective.
No.
I would actually argue,
why
and
the ending pisses me off even more.
Yeah, let's dive into that in a second. But I have to make my one little quip here because it's gonna kill me to say this. But the world in the Reverie was a better setting than this planet.
Damn. I also feel like he tried to make the spires like they were a living thing, but it didn't work, at least not for me. And mainly because it was so damn confusing as to what they were talking about.
Yes, this is a part where I was like, he actually kind of started losing me with that. I was like, I guess. But should we dive into the end, Carrie?
Sure.
What did you love most about it? Let's. So you used the phrase that you and I have used before, that he disappears up his own ass. Help me. Help us understand.
I like that Cross lived. For now.
Is that a blessing?
You know, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I've read Arthur C. Clarke's Space Odyssey 2001. And
it's an okay book.
I got to the end and I was so damn confused. I watched the movie figuring that would explain. And the answer is no, it did not. And I can't explain the ending to this day. I've read explanations. I'm like, I don't know where you get that. This is almost like, at least like when my contemporary 19th century literature teacher was talking to me about the fucking Sound and the Fury, I may not see that, but I see where you're getting that with Space Odyssey 2001. I don't even see where you're getting this shit. Like, I don't even know like how we got from here to here. And I guess he took some peyote or something and wrote down his dream. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And that's kind of how I feel about the end with this. There's a whole lot of stuff happening. It wouldn't have surprised me if he suddenly became a baby in the sky, to be totally honest. But just the fact that the whole thing at the end, like, oh my God, it was the Colonel. When he came, but now they have these portals showing up. I'm like, what is this? Portals coming out, and he's just like, no, we have to stay here. We have more to do in the spires, and we have to be part of the planet. And then they leave. I'm like, what? How did we get here? And then let's get to Arikan. When she gets stabbed and she feels herself turning, and a woman's voice asks her if she wants to live. Now, of course, the reader, including myself, were thinking is Zuthali, because she hadn't died yet. And it said, I am redemption. I was like, okay, so this is what we're doing now. We're saying that, the spiral father or whatever, this is all part of the planet. This is redemption. This is how you're going to be redeemed, right? By joining our cult, being a part of the Gene Stealers and all that. And then no, it wasn't that. She wakes up in the Crucible Eterno, to which I was like, what was that again? And that's where Aveline is hanging out. And she's like, we're going to fix the planet. It's like, now, when
like, I'm just letting you cook.
When Clavel and Cross, when they got into the Abbey and got into Aveline's chamber, did I think is weird that her body wasn't there? Yeah, I did. But I was like, maybe it could have evaporated, but she was in her, I don't know. There are things. The fact that when she collapsed in front of this figurine in her office, her going into the figurine to be part of the planet was not on my bingo card. And that, to me, makes about as much sense as the end of Space Odyssey 2001 with David Bowman becoming the Star Child. Like, I feel like this is the Chewbacca defense. It does not make sense. None of this makes sense. And so when I say he disappeared up his own asshole, I am saying that he made everything so coiled and so like warp influent, there was nowhere for him to go but back up. And therefore, just when you think like this world that, chaos and the world is coming to an end, no, we're inverting in on itself. And this is all part of the planet. And this is what's really going on because we're part of the planet and the planet is redemption and redemption's going to save us all. What?
Okay. Whew. There's a lot in there, but I also don't want to interrupt you. Again, I love Queen.
I'm just going to wait for the hatred of people telling me how dumb I am for not getting it. Because these are probably the same people who, defend Rick and Morty as well.
I do feel a little bit. Anyways, we'll get there. We'll get there. Here's the thing about Fire Caste that worked so well. Is that Fire Caste is a time loop, right? But we've set up the time loop. So we've set up in the beginning, right, about like, here's this group of people, this awful thing sort of happened. Like, we get all these little clues and these hints. And then at the end, when it kind of makes sense what's happening, we're like, oh, wow, okay. So then when they go back in to start this time loop over, like, it's just this big circle, like, there's no real resolution to it because they're just going to go back and start the cycle all over again, right? And it's part of this coil, and it works because it's a tightly enclosed ecosphere. And I was like, man, I got all of this. I understand how we're doing this.
Yes, that made sense because you have a demon involved. And so it makes sense that in the Geller field, this commissar comes one with the demon and then goes back in time because that's how the warp do. Makes sense. But as I told you earlier today, is like, Fire Caste was a masterpiece. And I think that Fehervari liked that concept so much, he feels like he has to do that trick every single time. Well, I'm sorry. There's a reason why people stopped going to M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, movies, because they were expecting the twist. And when the twist becomes old, like, it has to be, so Fire Caste has to be done well. I have spoken before about how much I do not like time travel and alternate dimensions and all of that, but I thought Fire Caste handled that so very well because it is the warp and that kind of thing makes sense. However, what happened here with, like, you want to say that this planet's a death planet with these gene stealers? Great. I am all on board. But then to suddenly say that we have this weird thing where we're now in this figurine in the planet, like, I'm sorry. That comes to me as like, well, I'm smarter than you. And this is art. And if you don't get where I'm saying, well, then you're just dumber than other people.
Okay, I'm trying to like gather my thoughts here. Okay, so yeah, I totally agree with you. All the stuff with like Fire Caste and why this works, and actually now again, this makes me dislike Requiem Infernal more because when I go back and I think about Requiem Infernal definitely tried to copy the same magic trick, as with that time loop piece, right? But again, God, this is gonna kill me to say this, but it actually works in that.
It does,
because again,
that one made sense with that ship, that boat. Okay, fine. Makes some sense. Okay, I really hope her camera comes back because this is a really awkward thing for her to be paused on. There she is. Your hand was like this and totally frozen. Like, oh God.
Oh, so was yours. Like, anyways, cool,
fine.
Great. Intertubes.
Discord.
Anyways, yes, it works in Requiem Infernal. Like, I don't like it, but it works, right? And especially after reading Fire Caste, where I'm like, wow, this was so good. Like, how do we get here? That one works. The Cult of the Spiral Dawn, I almost would have. I would have preferred that he did the same magic trick that he did there, where he just like goes back and now it's this loop and like, look how this works. I actually would have preferred that. Because you've set up this idea that, yes, to your point, there's all these gene stealers and this is basically a death world and the gene stealers are the horror. Now, I will say one of my complaints is I was like, yeah, the planet is not as oppressive as a figure or characterized as well as it was in Fire Caste. But I guess when you have the gene stealers, that's probably horror enough, right? Nobody likes the gene stealers. And so yeah, when you get to the end there and all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then yeah, they find Aveline and it's redemption and we're doing this and it's like it's instead of being like a circle, then he kind of like corkscrews off and he's like, oh, and then all these like short stories that I've written, look how they all kind of weave in here and isn't this kind of cool and stuff, and it nothing really got resolved at the end. And I know before some very clever person comes in and is just like, well, nothing actually ends, right? Like everything would just keep going because like there's no ending to your story, right? Um, but it just feels like I'm going to be really shitty here and say that reading parts of this, I was like, right, yeah, you don't have to resolve anything because you'll just do it in the future sometime in a short story, right? Like it almost feels like, well, I don't really know where I want to go with that, but that's okay because I've established this dark coil thing. So I'll publish a novella in 2 years where people will be like, oh my God, that's what happened at the end of this. This totally makes sense now. Now we've explained this figurine. We've explained what Aveline was doing. Redemption, the concept of redemption, we've explained it. Have you? And it just felt a little too bizarre. And part of me wonders if maybe he was writing this book and he was like, oh, this is really similar to Fire Caste. Or if somebody said that to him and they were just like, are you just rewriting Fire Caste? And he was like, oh, I don't know, maybe. That's not good. I gotta make it different.
He could have.
Ooh, this is more like the Reverie. Fire Caste is like Requiem Infernal and Fire Caste are related, and this one is more like the Reverie, where all of a sudden just stuff happens.
But at least in the Reverie, they did try to make that a loop, which is when I was just like, and I'm out. Was that
we're done here?
Yeah. So this one, I don't feel like it was even a time loop. Like there was no time loop elements, which is why I think it got.
It was just weird.
Even weirder. Like maybe the only time loop things like, oh, Aveline is not dead. It's 100 years later, and she's in here. I guess, he could have. One
Maybe
way that
he
they
played
could
Dark Souls, and he went up that one hallway where you jump into that painting. Maybe they played that, and he was like, oh, "I love this."
Sure, he could have ended this
Where are all the
honestly.
Dark Souls
He
people
could
at?
have kept like the horror elements going very simply with this. That yes,
Mhm.
they killed the Spiral Father. Everything's kind of gone to shit. But hey, they were able to take the ship and go somewhere else and infect another planet because that's pretty open-ended. And now they're abandoned here on this planet. But the redemption was they finally cleaned this cult and now they can try to maybe salvage this planet. If it's worth salvaging.
The real redemption was the cult that killed along the way.
Yes. But I mean, even like the way that they handled like the pure strains getting off world was so like, and this just happened because the ship that couldn't run went up and then took over the other ship. What? Like as I told you earlier, because you're like, what even happened to the Inquisitor? And I was like, oh, remember they got abandoned because somehow the Velociraptors found a way to get off the planet and go to New York City or something.
I will admit I was like so over it when I got to the end. You said that and I was like, God damn it, now I have to go reread the last chapter. And I went reread the last chapter and I was like, oh yeah, duh, there's the Inquisitor, of course, yeah.
And you realized I was right, that the Velociraptors somehow found a way to get off the island and go to New York.
I also hate that I understand that reference.
Right.
Yeah, I am so excited for the new Jurassic World movie coming out because I am part of the problem.
Oh, I am not going. Like I told my kids, like you are on your own. So
I already have tickets.
Yeah, my eldest and his girlfriend are going together. And I was like, y'all have fun. I am done. Like after Jurassic World, and I was like, that was okay. I didn't even see the next two. I was like, I'm out. I am done. I am 100% out. And yeah, so my youngest is all sad that I'm not taking him to it. And I told him, I was like, I take you guys to so many movies. Like, you can live without this one and it'll be on Netflix or whatever before you know it. I mean, let's be real.
Oh my God, yes. I'm going to see it because my friend and I see a movie every Tuesday night and I'm going to go see it. But we already have our tickets for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, on top of that, so like there's a new Jurassic Park Evolution game coming out and both of them are already pre-ordered it with all the DLC. So
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're still like all much more into the dinosaur thing than I am, because like I'm done. Like Jurassic World was fun, but the end. You guys need to stop this with the dinosaurs.
Dude, I'm such a sucker. Like anything that has dinosaurs, and I'm like, go on, tell me more. And Mahershala Ali, I freaking
So
love
that's
that
the
as a
other
guy
thing
as a
that
character
the
actor.
Gabe was like, don't you like
But
Mahershala Ali? I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry he's in this
yeah,
crap, but yeah.
he classes up every room he's in by 20%. Okay, so the movie's already going to be at least at a 20%.
Yeah, and I can't wait for
Sorry.
Scarlett Johansson to be the Mary Sue with the nerdy guy who can't do anything for himself. That's going to be so much fun.
Okay, can we just talk about for a minute that this book lost us so badly? We just diverted into a conversation about Jurassic World. Oh,
Rebirth.
3, like the Revengeance. Um,
Vengeancing.
Wait, okay. So I need everybody to just really quickly. We were at the movies the other night, and there was this preview, and I was like, "What in the like garbage is this? This looks like death, like some Why can I not the Hideo Kojima nonsense?" And then sure enough, it was like Death Stranding 2. It was like, did I just watch a trailer for a Hideo Kojima game at an AMC theater? Anyways,
Probably.
it was a moment, and my poor friend just knows nothing about video games, and I was like, "What the?" I was very upset. Anyways, moving back to our book here. Basically it does feel like and I have like a piece of cat hair like stuck behind my glasses now, so now I'm like, sorry for people watching the vidcast. Yeah, it just kind of ended and it just kind of wrapped up. And I know that there's going to be like 3 short stories that really explain and show this later. And oh my God, it's so deep and it's so awesome and it's so amazing. And I'm just not having it.
Here's the thing.
I'm really just not having it. And it wasn't like pulling something out of left field. Like, oh, she went into a statue. What? Like, not everything has to be foreshadowed and not everything has to be like, oh, this is why this happened. And oh, that statue is pretty suspicious looking, and
I mean,
I
it's got
think
the
she might actually
thorns.
have psycher. Like, not everything has to be, like but you do have to at least set it up in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. I understand what we were talking. Like, it cannot just come out of left friggin' field. Okay,
What
again,
if
going back to your point with M. Night Shyamalan,
Shamalama
that's
Ding
the
Dong?
Shyamalan. That's the big problem for him is that by the end there, a lot of his twists, it was just like, okay, I guess.
Like that came out
Sure.
of nowhere, but all right.
It came out of nowhere, but okay. And you definitely did not like set us up for that one. I will actually defend The Village, you guys. I will actually defend that as not being a terrible movie. Really long story as to why. But anyways, I will defend that one. But when they do, spoiler alert on a 20-year-old movie, when they reveal that it's always been in modern times, it wasn't like The Sixth Sense
Well,
where you're like,
I've
oh,
never seen
mother,
it. No, I'm not going to.
you hadn't seen it in 20 years, but that was the final straw
That
for
was
you.
it was final straw.
Glad I could help. I'm glad I could help. Um, the reason that some things work, like I'm gonna break down The Sixth Sense for you. The reason that The Sixth Sense works so well is, again, once it gets revealed, all of a sudden you realize, you're like, oh my God, it was there in front of our eyes the whole time. Nobody interacts with him. Everybody's really strange to him. That scene with the doorknob when Cole kind of freaks out, right? You didn't see it in there. Same thing with Fight Club. The reason that reveal works so well is that we were kind of given hints about how weird all of this was, and the way that people interacted with the narrator. It was like, something was a little off, but it worked because he was, part of this weird thing that, okay, maybe that works a little bit. A lot of the good, really effective twists, you gave us just enough that when it happens, you're like, oh my God, yes, that absolutely. Even going back to Chinatown, even that, you're like, oh my God, this explains so much. No, I was not having the end of this book. And the whole idea of redemption actually being redemption kind of knocks the legs out of a really good moment of, why would we call this planet redemption? Oh, because apparently it actually is redeeming. I pass the conch back to you.
I actually had some thoughts and they've all just kind of left.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You went off and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go off too.
No.
and
It's
talk about Jurassic World.
well, no, I don't want to talk about Jurassic anymore.
That's fair.
God damn it, I hate it. Just
Nids fit with the Jurassic World. I'm just thinking.
I know what I was gonna say. So, if you have to write a short story to explain your novel, it's not a good book.
Yes, I would agree with that. And again, I like mystery and I like inference. Again, like it's so much, like there was so much in Fire Caste where you kind of had to plug stuff in your own head. And I absolutely loved that. I thought that was brilliant and so well done. But again, there's a way to do this. So I guess what I'm saying is that he can do it right and well. This was not an example of that.
I think it's just a matter of him just trying. He keeps trying to bottle that lightning over and over and over
Yes.
again. It's like, dude, find something else.
Yes, and here's the thing is that again, he does such a good job of writing the oppressive horror that is the 40k universe, right? Such a good job. And there actually is inside of this book in particular, there is kind of this really neat commentary on like the pitfalls of faith within the 40k universe, right? And like how from everything from them being like, well, I don't know, the Cult of the Spiral Dawn. I mean, it seems it probably is just a weird offset of the Imperial sect. So, you know, I mean, I guess it's sanctioned. What are we going to say about it, right?
Right.
We don't know who sanctioned it, but it was sanctioned. Okay, so this goes on ignored, right? People blindly fall into this because nope, sounds good. Like you're preaching a maybe slightly nicer version of the yeah, that's great. I love it, great. Watching all these characters in here really dealing with their faith as part of the 40k universe, because faith is so deeply ingrained into the 40k universe, right? Really a cool concept in there that kind of gets lost. I mean, I guess you could argue that, God damn it, now I'm gonna, I guess you could argue at the end, the whole piece was just like, well, this is redemption. Like, okay, yes, and we're going to heal this planet. Okay, I got you. Like there is, again, that is the faith too. Maybe it's misguided. Maybe it's not. There was something cool in there and it kind of got muddled at the end.
It had potential.
It had potential. It really did. And I was really on board. I was pretty on board with it actually up until about the end, just but 3 or 4 chapters before the end that I was like, oh no, never mind. You almost got me. It just and look, I'm not saying that it's a bad book or that oh god, people who like this are stupid. No. I get it. If people like it, I get it. Some people really like what is the name of the director who did like shoot, now I've totally blanked on his name and I'm actually gonna have to look it up because I'm trying to make a point here. Some people really like this guy's work and I don't get it. Hey, some people like Wes Anderson. There's a better example. Some people like Wes Anderson. Some people watch that trailer for Phoenician Scheme, which at this point just looks like a parody of Wes Anderson's style, and we're like, hell yeah, I want to go see that. My friend was one of them. And then I had to look at her askance and be like, do I even know you as a person? If this is your thing, I love that for you. I absolutely love it. I will still stand by Fire Caste as one of my top 10 favorite books.
Well,
but
never forget the fact that Shape of Water was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh my God, you guys! I saw Shape of Water in the theater. I dragged my sister-in-law to it, and I had to apologize to her at the end of that movie. I'm looking up this movie. It had Emma Stone in it, and it's the one where she's like a Frankenstein thing. Poor Things is the name of the movie, and the guy who does it, I'm gonna butcher his name, is Yorgos Lanthimos. And
Never
some people
even heard of him.
like. Oh my God, he did Poor Things, and he did that other movie that I also think had Emma Stone in it too, which was not good. I'm sorry. Oh, he did The Lobster too, and Killing of a Sacred Deer. Which Killing of a Sacred Deer, you want to talk about a pretentious fucking movie? Also, the reason that I don't like Barry Keogh, or however you say his last name, Keogh. So whatever. I don't know. I don't do Irish names. But yeah, he's now doing this like Kinds of Kindness movie. That's what's coming out. Some people like his stuff. I do not. I saw Poor Things and was like, absolutely not. No, thank you. Anyways, Thank you. I do a lot of movies. uh, Again, if this is your thing, I love that for you. It is not my thing. This is
Well, I mean,
not
it's
my cup of tea.
just like
I'm glad we read it though,
Hideo
because people
Kojima,
are
video games. Not our thing.
That's fair, and I'm sorry if you're super into Death Stranding. I apologize. Again, I'm not saying like, oh my god, you're dumb.
No, it's
I
it
don't
is,
like the thing. I'm
yeah.
glad you like the thing.
Honestly, I think it was because I was the editorial director at a site when that was all that the trailers, like the 90-second trailers of what were releasing, and people were breaking it down, like getting into the Egyptian mythology and all of this stuff and what Hideo like believes of this and this and this. I'm just like, okay, like
Yes.
I mean, and they're like, oh, because he actually has talked about these things. Like, okay, that's great. I can't imagine being so enamored with a game director that you're getting that deep into like a 90-second trailer. But I mean, it probably is.
Yeah.
You're probably 100% correct. But Jesus, dude.
Oh yeah. I will say, so here's my one plea on this, right? And I know we've mentioned this before, but I will mention it again. So I'm really glad again, loved Fire Caste.
Yes,
Absolutely loved
I'm
it.
glad that we finally
This
acquiesced
and
did it, because it is, by God, one of the best damn books I have ever read.
yes, agreed. This book comes up a lot though, as people like, oh my God, you have to read it, you have to read it, you have to read it. So I'm really glad that I can say I've read it. I will bear in mind that I have read the entire Twilight series because everybody was talking about it and I did not enjoy it at all, but I was glad that I read it because I was like, oh, now when people talk about it, I can be like, I know what you're thinking about. I've read most of the Harry Potter series for that reason too, where I could be like, ah, I know what you're talking about. I'm glad I read it. Going back to your commentary on Rick and Morty, I actually don't have a problem with Rick and Morty. I don't like it. It's not my cup of tea.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I do not like Rick and Morty fans because there is that arrogance of, well, if you don't like it, you're just dumb. I lived through the Matrix movies.
I was about
right?
to say it's the same thing with the Matrix movies.
I was in my early 20s when Matrix 2 came out. I saw it. I did not like it. And everybody, oh my God, it's because you didn't understand it. Oh, no. I got it. It wasn't that deep. They did not.
Kind of smack you in the face with it more than Ayn Rand does in one of her novels, I hate to say.
Yeah, if you've seen The Matrix 2, the character literally talks at the camera about what is going on. God, not the Keymaster. I don't even remember what his name is. The guy in the suit. Literally explains what's going on to you.
It's the master program, right?
Yeah, I think that's what his name was. Yeah. I hated that, but like I loved the first movie. It was the style and everything. Yeah, I loved it. Second and third movie don't exist. There's one Matrix movie. And we don't even talk about the fourth movie because we're serious people. But that's another thing where people would just like galvanize them in the you're just dumb. There's this like arrogance and this like, no, I just didn't like it. And I'm not coming at anybody. I'm not telling anybody that they're pretentious or that they're those people. I'm just saying
I love that you love this. You are pretentious. But
yes, very much so. Please do not at me that we didn't understand the book.
Like, if you like the book, you're not pretentious. But if you're going to come at people and be like, "Well, you didn't like it because you didn't understand it," now you're pretentious.
Yes, and if you love this book, I love that for you. There's been a lot of books that I've liked that people are like, that book is terrible, and I'm like, oh, I really liked it.
Oh my God!
Again,
right?
my favorite Legion is the Iron Warriors, so I'm very familiar with the. Oh my God, I like them. I like my petulant man children. I feel like I'm getting a lot of disclaimers for this because I know that there's a lot of people who really, really love this book and like this. They really do like it, and I'm not coming at you. Please don't come at me. I just did not enjoy it.
I mean, to quote The Big Lebowski, it's just like your opinion, man.
It's like your opinion, man. Everybody should know that is literally like, I throw out statements sometimes where I'm like, oh my God, this person sucks. It is, I am the dude. The dude is kind of my spirit animal there. That's just like my opinion, man. I love that you love them. The Blood Angels. I'm not about, what's his name? Mephiston. I'm not about his,
Yeah.
I love that other people love him.
And I like the Blood Angels. I like Mephiston.
I know. And
actually,
I love
and it
that for
cracks
you.
me up about the chalices. Every single time they show up, I giggle. I'm like, oh, you guys, and move on.
Yeah. See, that's it. That's it. I love that for you. It's not my cup of tea. But I'll make like statements where I'm just like, oh my God, the Eurotrash space vampires. This is just the banter. It's just like my opinion.
Wow.
I really
We really
felt the
shouldn't
need.
apologize for our opinions.
I'm not apologizing for my opinion. I just want to make it really clear.
That we're not bashing people.
I'm not coming at you. I'm not
Yeah.
bashing you. I'm not necessarily bashing the book. I just did not enjoy it. I really did not.
And I think we have.
And I'm cognizant that that's her hot take.
I think we have officially given Fehervari a fair shot.
So here's what I will say.
4 books of his, and we liked
4.
1. So
Plus a bunch of short stories and a novella. I liked his short stories and I liked the novella.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. This is what I'm going to ask everybody in the future. Now that we have pretty much doctored, or like we have gone through and like really diagrammed why we don't like these books, except for Fire Caste. In the future, if Peter Fehervari does come out with another book, what we're going to request from our very good fans that we absolutely love and adore, just keep in mind, here's how you're gonna recommend a book by Peter Fehervari to us in the future. Is it giving Fire Caste, or is it giving Cult of the Spiral Dawn? Okay, those are the options. It's giving one of the others, and you can even say like, oh, it's kind of like Fire Caste with a little bit of the Reverie in it. Ooh, you almost got us. Don't abuse your power. Okay, with great power comes great responsibility. So don't abuse that. But do us a favor. If he comes out with another book in the future, just like, we're not saying we wouldn't read it, but would appreciate a good, like, this is going to be like Fire Caste.
Well, I mean, maybe if there's nothing else to read.
There's also that.
That's kind of why we gave Fire Caste a chance. So.
Well, it was because we had to dig into the Wayback Machine, and everyone was like, you have to read this, you have to read this, you have to read this. And again, I am so
it basically
glad.
was one of those books that we read like, just shut up already. All right.
I don't remember. I think it was Skywatcher Adept who was like really, really passionate about us reading it. And I will forever thank you for that, sir.
Mm-hmm. It is true. He was one of the most passionate people about it.
Mm-hmm. And that I will definitely. That was a solid. Yeah, but the Wayback Machine, we have to dip back into the Wayback Machine again, because we're waiting on Doc Grotznick.
Yep.
And then obviously the next Carcaridan's book. I am beside myself with joy for that.
Yes. Because I already have my Mad Doc. Who knows when you're getting yours in? And then we got to wait for Void Exile, which I'm super excited about.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about that one. I think Doc Grotznick will come with that one, but I got the limited edition version of it, so that tends to be like a 2-week.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So, but we are going back into the Wayback, but we're choosing a book that was recently republished. So
this is true.
We got
and I think some of our friends have also recommended this one to us.
Yes. And I actually found a copy on eBay for pretty damn cheap. So
nice.
15 hours, which I've been told to read this book for probably years.
I think I have the original paperback somewhere. The Red Badge of Courage in space. And I actually mean that in a really good way.
Which I've never read the Red Badge of Courage. So
how did you get out of high school not reading that?
I was never assigned to us. I never even heard of it until I met my husband, and that was one of his favorite books. I was like, I've never read it, never heard of it. You had also didn't read in school? To Kill a Mockingbird. So I know.
What the hell is going on in Houston?
Do you really want the answer to that question? No, you do not.
No, I don't, actually.
Yeah, so like...
Nope, Texas is a strange place that I
So I didn't read To Kill a Mockingbird until about, I want to say maybe 10 years ago when I got sick. And I sat and read the book in a day and then cried and just fell in love with it. But yeah, so I've not read...
like, this is why it's a classic.
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
You know what would be really interesting is if we read 15 hours and then you go and read...
like the full, like, original cover.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
It would actually be kind of cool if we read this and then, because the Red Badge of Courage is super short. But it would be kind of interesting if, like, sometime in the next year you actually read Red Badge of Courage to see.
There is a copy downstairs because it's my husband's favorite book. So
it's a great book.
Because I was telling him, I was like, so, hey, we're reading this book. And the reason I was telling you why it was called 15 hours, and I said, and according to Jen, it is a red badge of courage in space. He was like, oh, that'd be really good. Of course.
Pretty much. It touches on a lot of the same themes and ideas. And it's, yeah, really good. That was actually how my husband, he had picked it up, but I wasn't sure that I was going to read it because I'm not a huge Mitch Scanlon fan. And he was just like, yeah, no, you should read it because it's the red badge of courage in space. But I read it so many years ago. I don't really, it got memory hold. I was like, oh, I liked that book. It's memory hold entirely. Right. I picked, anyways. The memory is not what it used to be. You know what the best part is that, I don't know, maybe in 5 or 6 years we'll be like picking up Requiem Infernal again because we're like, did we read this one?
Well, I was like, and
Coil.
I've told, yeah, right. I told you there's this one book that I own. I don't remember reading it, but apparently I marked it on Goodreads as having read. I'm like, okay.
I guess. Okay, you know what? Somebody had just lent me, well, not just, I mean, like in the last year, had lent me a horror novel. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to read that. And I started reading it and was like, wait a minute. I had read it. It's rough in these streets, you guys.
No, especially with how many of these books we read and have read, and stuff blurs together.
It do. Do you want to take a
second? Yeah, I sure will. Speaking of blurring together, as my eyes are coming together, because my body's just like, you're
done.
You have to, like, pack all day tomorrow and get on a early ass flight because you can't plan your life well. So,
oh my God.
Anyway,
it smells like bitch in here.
I don't like waking up early, people. I really don't. Anyway,
but that cheap ass flight, though.
Well, yes, as in I used points.
Also,
so
do you know what flights don't get canceled or delayed? The early morning flights, because your gear's already there and they want to get it out.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
I guess. Ugh.
I'm going to convert you to our side if it's forced traveling.
Going to come off way too early. And I'm going to cry when I get there, but that's okay. So, but you have listened to the Warhammer 40k book club episode regarding the Dark Coil Damnation, the rest of the book by Peter Fehervari. Be sure to join us next time for 15 Hours by Mitchell Scanlon. I don't know if I've read anything by him before. Actually, I don't know. He might have read I bet he wrote a Horus Heresy book.
He did. And he wrote one of the bigger ones, Talk Amongst Yourselves.
You know what? I bet he wrote the 6th book, the one about the Dark Angels.
Yes, I think that was it.
Anyway, so we are an unofficial book club and not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both
Descent of Angels.
So the 6th book, yep. You can find both the vidcast and podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and all those wonderful things to the vidcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Rumble, or the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Yeah. Yep. Come join our Discord. That's the last thing. It's fun in there. People show what they're painting. Daka Daka Flame shows his baby chicks. I always love springtime on his farm because he shows all the baby animals. It's a lot of fun. It's really cute.
I'm so jealous. I wish I was built for that life.
Well, but I think he also lives out in the country and in the cold ass end of the universe. So anyway, we do like you, Daka Daka Flame. Please keep showing me pictures of the baby ducklings because those are the best. So our site also has articles about our adventures and reading other Warhammer 40k books out and short stories outside the book club books. So please stay well and read from a crag. And we're done with Fehervari, people, for a while. Please understand.
For a bit. Fire Caste is amazing.
It's not amazing. It's a masterpiece.
I'd agree with that.
Just a really bad title.
He
should have left it at Thunderground.
Oh my God. 100%.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.